Welcome to Another Mother Runner, your best running friend in podcast form. We do all the talking, even on the uphills. I'm your host, Sarah Bowen Shea, and I'm joined by Amanda Loudin. Welcome, Amanda, to back to the podcast and to YouTube. New frontier for us.
New frontier. And I think I kind of like it without video, but here I am.
Yes. Yeah. So it's been about 4 months since we last talked. I would love to catch up on everything, but we don't have time for that. But given the time of year it is, I'm going to assume that you have not summited any Adirondack peaks since we last recorded. Is that right?
That's correct. I think the first time I'll be up there will be June. I am doing something a little ambitious right before that. Over Memorial Day weekend, I saw the opportunity to through hike the Maryland section of the AT, which is 41 miles in a day, and doing it in a day. And it's supported. And so it's through the Appalachian Mountain Club. So I thought, why not? And I was able to recruit 6 of my running besties.
No.
So we're just going to, on Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, we're going to be at 4:30 in the morning, setting off across the whole stretch of
41
Maryland.
miles in hiking in one day. That's significant.
It's going to be a lot. Yeah. And I don't know that any of us are doing anything really to prepare. It's just, counting on running and lots of marathons under our belt. And I mean, I'm going to continue to be hiking and, all those things anyhow in the meantime, but that'll set me up really nicely for summer in the Adirondacks.
Yes. Yeah. So wait, so what pace do you like? What is it going to be running? Is it going to be hiking those 41 miles?
We're just hiking it, but they do, for this supported event, they do require that you can do 2.5 to 3 miles an hour, which on the AT I think is very doable. The AT in Maryland I think is very doable. I mean, I've run and hiked lots of sections of the Maryland AT. So yeah, in the Adirondacks, no, you can't do 2.5 to 3 miles. Yeah.
Is it kind of flat there in Maryland, the trail?
No, it's rolling. It's definitely rolling. It has some good stretches. I think the slowdown factor is kind of like the ankle biter rocks, they're all around, about ankle height, and you just have to, navigate around them. But yeah. Yeah. So yes, we have that on the calendar. So it'll be fun.
Wow. And quite an adventure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what's been one or two especially interesting articles that you've written since we've talked, maybe for the New York Times, the Wash Post, other publications?
I had what I'm thinking might be one of my last pieces for the Washington Post, given, all the staff cuts. My editor got cut actually in the middle of, after I turned in an article to them, she got cut. And so, there's a lot of, a lot of handling in between, but it got published a week or two ago. That was an interesting article on the topic of limerence, which I'm really not. I'm much better at articulating it in my article than I am verbally, but it's a sort of a type.
I've heard the word.
Yeah, I guess it's trending on social media, and I know someone who wrote a whole book about it. There are a couple of books coming out on it, and it's a form of, I guess, infatuation, unrequited infatuation, can sometimes just become kind of tip over into a little bit of maybe unhealthy territory where it occupies all of your brain. It's taking up all the real estate. A person will take up all the real estate in your brain.
And it's specifically toward a person. It's not like that I'm obsessed with pickleball or I just have to bake sourdough all the time.
Yes, it's pretty much toward a person. We've all experienced it to some degree, especially in our teenage years, right? But where it gets to be problematic is, again, if it starts kind of disrupting your day to day, all you can think about is this person. So that was kind of interesting. And then for the Times, I have one that'll be coming out shortly on plantar fasciitis, actually. And I brought on a couple of people who have been on the podcast before, Denise Smith and Jada Sherry. So, I feel like I have good sources for that. Yeah.
Good. And I'm very glad that I could not be interviewed for that article because yes, I've had it twice, and I would like to keep it as a thing in my past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh. So, yeah. And what's going on with you?
So yeah, I'll start with my kids, start from the oldest down. Phoebe, my 24-year-old, I was so happy she was at last week's podcast party. She and her romantic partner, Ben, joined us. And I thoroughly embarrassed Phoebe. I brought her up in front of the audience right before we started recording because she and Ben got there, just squeaked in right before we were about to start recording. So I hadn't seen them already. And so I just was so excited to have them there that I couldn't. And I saw immediately this sheepish look get on her face. I was like, oh, I'm doing it. So...
That's so great, though.
Yeah. So she's finished all her classes at Portland State University, and now she just needs to pass a Spanish competency test to get her degree.
That's awesome.
Yes. So Jen, my goodness, now I don't know what to happen. Usually we can keep people waiting in a green room,
I know,
but because we have video.
I think we got a little excited. I can mute myself.
Yes, and you just look along and listen along with an interested look on your face since we now have video.
I just wanted to make sure everything was working. I'll be here when you need me.
Okay, good. Okay. So and then Daphne, my girl twin, she got home from a 2-month internship in Barcelona. And then she and her best friend traveled around Europe for about 2.5 weeks. So she got home the very night I was recording the podcast. So in front of that party audience. So I was bummed that I couldn't pick her up at the airport. But so now she has spring break and boohoo, she's bored. It's like, okay, well, you've already gotten your spring break, so I'm not going to feel guilty about this one. And then I'll give a quick update about John, my son, Daphne's twin brother, got his spring musical out there at Montclair State University was earlier than usual, so gosh, I got to go out there and run in a bunch of snow and some very cold rain, but I just love running in Montclair, New Jersey for a reason that I'm not exactly sure, other than they have a really gorgeous park. It's great houses, and he is now waiting to hear about all his summer musical theater gigs. He'll hear by the end of March where he's going to be hopefully working this summer doing professional theater. So
very nice.
Yeah, given that I talk about him a lot on this show, I'm sure there'll be more updates to come on him.
Yeah.
So, but the topic we are discussing today, and the reason Jen Harrison is with us, is relaunching or reinvigorating your running routine. And we're going to talk to 2 experts. Spoiler alert, Coach Jen Harrison of our Train Like a Mother Club, and Dr. Erin Haugen, Ph.D., a licensed psychologist and certified mental performance consultant. We're going to be talking about how to rev up your own commitment or enjoyment of running, while sharing a bit about how, Amanda, you and I keep alive our joy of running. And so let's jump in because Jen's here. So we are welcoming her. Jen has been a triathlon coach for nearly 25 years. Jen Harrison owns JHC Triathlon Coaching in the Chicagoland area. Jennifer has worked with a wide variety of triathletes, including beginners, national champions, world championship athletes, and Olympic para-triathlete bronze medalist, and the University of Illinois triathlon team. Jennifer has helped prepare thousands of athletes navigate their training and thoroughly prepare them to race up to their potential. Like me, Jen is a mom of boy-girl twins. Whoop, whoop. She's competed in more than 200 triathlons in all distances, and folks familiar with our Train Like a Mother Club will know Jen as one of the 2 coaches, along with her business partner, Coach Liz Waterstraat, in the heart rate and triathlon programs. Whew, that was a long bio for you there, Jen. Welcome back to the show.
It is. I was learning something. I was learning something myself when you were talking.
Right. Oh, that person sounds interesting. I'd like to talk to her.
It's the University of Illinois.
Yeah. So welcome back to the show, Jen. It's always a delight to talk with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to add to her credentials list. I've tapped into Jen's expertise for different articles over the years as well. So she is brilliant. But Jen, tell us about your athletic background, please.
Sure. My athletic background is I ran, swam, and played basketball my whole life. I always tell people I never missed a day in the swimming pool growing up. And my passion to this day is still swimming. My sister and I used to go to the pool when we were little kids. I grew up in Illinois, still live in Illinois, and there are not many long course meter outside pools there for obvious reasons. And my sister and I went every single day. Sometimes we were the only ones there. And we played, we would eat candy. And I think that playing, and eating the candy, but I think the playing in the water and not, I was on a swim team and I swam on the Schaumburg Barracudas at that age, but I just played. And so I had so much fun growing up, which is still kind of ignites my love for swimming. But I ran, swam, and played basketball my entire life and got into triathlon when I met my husband, my current husband. And
you're waiting around for another one?
As soon as I said that, I was like, current husband. So this is my current and only husband. I did not live a double life. We've been married for almost 28 years. I'm sure he's probably like, okay, maybe you can find another husband. That would be great. But anyway, so I met him and he was doing triathlons and I was not. And he was like, oh my gosh, you know how to swim. You need to do a triathlon. And I was like, I don't really want to bike. But I did one and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Now, one quick question about that long course pool. It was only open in the summer or was it open in the winter?
That's correct. Yep. Only open in the summer. Yep. So every day from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. And also bring us up to speed on where you are athletically at the moment, because for folks who don't remember, you had a very serious injury that you returned from, and bring us up to date where you are now.
Of course. So I have been doing triathlon since 95, so a long time. Probably 250 triathlons. In last August of 26, so 24, about a year and a half ago, I was out here in Tucson, running in the trails, which I am not I'm not a good trail runner, period. And growing up in Chicago. But anyway, so I was out there and I did trip and fall, got my foot stuck and hinged forward and ripped off all three of my hamstrings off my ischial tuberosity bone. And then I pretended like nothing happened and hoping it was going to go away. Like I was 25 years old, like you fall down and you bounce right back up and you're like, oh, I'm okay. I'm good. Well, there was no bouncing up. In fact, I couldn't sit up. I couldn't walk and I couldn't stand. So we had to get the emergency people to come and get me in the mountains. And I had surgery on that and I rehabbed that. And I'm happy to say, I could go into more details of that process, but happy to say, fast forward to today and I feel amazing and cannot tell. I really can't tell which leg I had the surgery on. And it's
wow.
Right. And my surgeon told me at about 18 months, which is kind of where I'm at right now. He said that you won't be able to tell what leg it is. And I'm kind of like, okay. Yes, I will. Okay. I'm like, they're absolutely not. But he is almost right. I mean, I can't really feel it. I don't think about it. I did a triathlon down here in Tucson 2 weeks ago. All out as hard as I could go, of course. It was a shorter race. And I mean, I've been racing and training, climb Mount Lemmon. So I'm down here just wrapping up triathlon camp that I do down here every year with people just leaving kind of this morning from Tucson from my camp. We climb Mount Lemmon. That's up to 9,200 feet.
Wow. Nice.
And I did that. So yeah, I've been feeling great.
Wow.
That's
and
so
then
great.
not thinking about it. I think that's the important thing. Coming
is.
back from an injury. I mean, I'm not telling you, coach, something that you don't know, but that when you can stop fretting and worrying and ruminating before you go out, when you're out, when you come back, that little tiny, is it coming back? You know, that type of thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really it. And, behind all the the words of me saying, I feel great and I can't tell anything happened, in between all those words, of course, are, the tears and the physical therapy for 6 months and everything else that is kind of attached to coming back from something like this. But I am here to say you come back and you can come back stronger. And even at, I did this at 53, I'm 55 now. So I said to the surgeon, I said, I'm not going to use the age card. I said, but I have to ask you, do you think this is going to be a problem? Because I'm in my early 50s. And he looked at me and he was like, which is why I love him. He was like, well, why? You're an athlete and you've taken great care of your body within limits, of course, great care of your body all these years, all these decades, and then when he got in to my leg and he was doing surgery, when he met me after surgery, he said, your hamstrings were so supple that I had no idea you were in your 50s. And I said, wait, hold on a second. Can you say that again? Just a little bit slower and a little bit louder. And I'm going to record it and I'm going to play it every single day. But we still laugh about that because I check in with him every so often and I still laugh about that. So.
That Coach Jen, she has such supple hamstrings. Yes. I left that out of your bio. Next time I'll add that in.
I know. I love it.
These supple hamstrings.
Yes.
Right? Who gets supple hamstrings in their 50s? Me.
All right, let's jump into the topic here. So that, Coach Jen, when this podcast topic, theme, whatever it is, came into my head, it wasn't about coming back from injury so much as how to rediscover one's enjoyment or enthusiasm for running, whether that's rediscovering or discovering. Or at the very least, how to shed that sense of dread when it comes to running. So do you ever work with athletes in this endeavor?
Oh, most definitely. It is a good area. It's a good area to kind of step back and focus on. And I think when people get hurt, injured, even sick, even down with a nasty virus or bronchitis and they're out for a week, everything shifts over to perspective, right? And so once we are able to change our perspective on the ability to run, it changes everything because what you once had is taken away from you. And then so once you get it back, just like anything else, you savor it. I can't tell you how many of my athletes will say to me, I was just happy to be out there running, coming off of an injury or coming off of something like that. So absolutely.
And do you ever talk though with people who just for whatever reason have just kind of been like, running, it's hard, it's blah, I don't enjoy it anymore. So just when the pep has left their step, do you work with athletes about that?
Yeah. And that is a lot more common, actually. People lose their mojo a lot. And some of it's related to, I always tell people training is easy, life is hard. So when we have life happening around us, we have things that are going on in the United States or the world, or things that are going on in your own household, or anything else that kind of just makes people feel stressed or worried or anything like that. I think sometimes that anxiety and that unsureness makes people kind of, like go inwards and they lose their mojo to kind of get out of the door and take care of themselves. In fact, I just had a conversation with an athlete this morning who was, he's like, I lost my mojo. I hurt my hip on Saturday, nothing major, just kind of, tweaked it. I hurt my hip. I've been taking care of my wife who had ACL surgery. So he's being a caregiver, nothing that is life-threatening, but stuff that it would be stressful, working, all that other stuff. And I just told him, I'm like, you have to carve out time for yourself and take care of yourself, even if it's for 15 or 20 minutes a day where you go out and get some fresh air, you go for a walk, but you have to get back on the wagon because you owe it to yourself to have this time. Because all of us, especially women, spend all of our time taking care of others, worrying about others. And sometimes that energy is gone by the time we want to go out the door and lace up and get outside. So I do talk about this a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely from the early days of Another Mother Runner, it was the encouraging women to put themselves first on their to-do list at least once a day. And so for me, one way I was able to feel a pep come back to my step, which happened last fall. I was in New Jersey, and I really stopped being concerned about my pace. And I mean, I've definitely been slowing down, as everyone does as they age, but I decided specifically out there, so when we go out to Montclair, we stay in an Airbnb and stay in all different ones. And there's this one park that I like to go to, and we're further away from it than we usually are. And so if I knew that if I wanted to get to the park and make at least one loop, if not two of it, that I would have to run further than I had been back here in Portland. And so I just reminded myself that I could slow my roll. And gee, I enjoyed running so much better when I did that. Yeah, so talk a little bit about that.
I always tell people when it comes to stuff like that it's not, and I say it nicely, but I always tell people it's the ego that is the issue when we go out to run. With the invention and the advancement of technology, we have so much noise and feedback into our brains and into our wrists, and and these Garmin's, you're not productive. It's all so much information to kind of handle, and gone are the carefree days of just going out and going running. And I do challenge athletes to do that every so often. And if you need to turn your watch on, then cover it with black electrical tape or duct tape and get out there and run. Don't look at your pace, and start to feel the run, feel the paces, feel the effort. And with that comes some freedom of, gosh, I can't believe I ran that fast, or I didn't feel good and I really wasn't as slow as I thought I was going to be. Because what's kind of killing some people's mojo sometimes is comparison. The comparison against your friends, the comparison against all your buddies on Strava, and the comparison just within, your running group. And I think sometimes that's what's kind of killing it's a thief of joy, I always say.
Or the comparison to your younger self.
Right.
100%. If we all did that, I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning either.
Yeah. Likewise. Well, speaking of pace, talk about mixing walking into your routine as a way to make running more enjoyable for some folks.
I am a huge fan of walking. I can't talk enough about how fantastic it is. I always start and recommend to my athletes start with their runs as walking to warm up, especially in the cold, especially in the early mornings, or when we've been sitting at our desks all day and then people jump up and go running from their desks. It's a little treacherous. So my advice is always run, and
always walk.
Or walk. Thank you. And putting walks in your run is, it's a brilliant pace of moving forward while resetting your mind, resetting your body, allowing your heart rate to come down a little bit, and, just kind of taking things in. So it can be different patterns for where you're at in your fitness. It can be a run-walk cycle that you keep increasing and progressing to making the runs a little bit longer than the walks each week, or it's as you feel. You go out, you go start running for 5 minutes. And the thing too with the running walk thing is you have to make sure when you're new to this that you're not overrunning some of this. So we're not sprinting and then walking. So when new people start running, they're like, they get hurt, or they're like, oh, I'm so burnt out, I don't think I can keep this up. It's because they're running too hard usually. So the key there is, you should be able to talk. So go out with your friend, and you should not be able to sing, but you should be able to talk. There's a difference. And have a casual conversation. And that will kind of keep everybody on the straight and narrow a little bit with the run walk. And like I said, you can progress it if you want to, or you can hold it and maintain fitness that way as well.
All right, it's time for a short sponsor break. Please support these brands as a way to support this show. We'll be back shortly. I'm not a health and wellness trend chaser. Supplement suggestions on social media don't sway me. Give me hard data and respected experts. Momentous works with the best brains in human science to create every formula, and every batch is made of pure ingredients, does not contain fillers, and is tested for safety. That's a big reason why I take Momentous creatine daily. Another reason? My occasional co-host, Coach Liz Waterstraw, heaps praise on Momentous, calling it an incredible brand recommended by the top sports scientists and third-party tested. Creatine chews are bite-sized lemon-lime chews that make daily consistency effortless, you just chew and go, and trustworthy. Each chew delivers exactly 1 gram of CreaPure creatine monohydrate. Sourced exclusively in Germany, CreaPure sets the gold standard for creatine, delivering the purest form creatine monohydrate that's rigorously washed and never cut with fillers. With Momentous, the fundamentals are done right. Right now, Momentous is offering our listeners up to 35% off your first subscription order with promo code AMR. Go to livemomentous.com and use promo code AMR for up to 35% off your first subscription order. That's LIVE Momentous.com, promo code AMR. This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar. IQ Bar is the better for you plant protein-based snacks. IQ Bar gives you the delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel you need to win your day. If you're IQ Bar curious, the Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ Bars, 8 IQ Mix Sticks, and 4 IQ Joe Sticks. All IQ Bar products are packed with clean, tasty ingredients that keep you physically and mentally fit, like magnesium, lion's mane, and more. There are plenty of flavor combinations to choose from, like banana nut protein bars, yuzu mango hydration mixes, and vanilla spice coffee. With more than 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are starting their days on the right foot with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Like me. After my morning workout or driving home from pickleball, I eat an IQ Bar to start my recovery process. An IQ Bar has 12 grams of plant protein plus nutrients to help me be sharp and focused during the workday. It's convenient, effective, and tasty. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text AMR to 64,000. Text AMR to 64000. That's AMR to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. So when I started telling running buddies about my renewed zest for running, several of them immediately asked what race I was going to run. So what do you see as the pros and cons of signing up for a race as a way to recommit to running?
I am, if you're interested in racing, of course, and that motivates you, I'm a huge fan of putting a race on the calendar just because it gives you the motivation and the goal at the end of the journey. It's the carrot at the end of the, at the end of it's the destination we're trying to get to. So I really like it as long as your expectations are in line with the race outcome. So if you are running and you're feeling good and you want to do a race, then do it. As long as you're not putting the unnecessary pressure on yourself to perform, to PR, to be better than you were last time you did it. Sometimes you can just race and have fun and do a 10K, 5K, half marathon just to enjoy the event and have a goal out there. You don't have to tell anybody about it and just do it for yourself. Or if it motivates you to tell everybody, to keep you honest and to keep you engaged in the process of progression, then tell people and put it out there. It depends on you. There's been many races where I've snuck in and done it and nobody knew about it and it was just for me. And I'm like, this is great. And it's kind of a little bit refreshing sometimes. You know what I mean?
Have you ever run a race under an alias so people can't look up your results?
No. No. And I probably should, but I will say the closest I can get to something like that is doing some road races here in Tucson, where I'm at in the winter for a big chunk of time, because nobody really knows me down here. So I'm like, oh, hi, Jen Harrison. Don't know anybody. This is great. Versus being at home.
Where they're like, shoot, Jen's running. Jen's in my age group. Now probably the people in Tucson, they're like, I don't know who she is, but I'm so bummed that she's down here.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, the triathlon that I did on a couple of weeks ago, I did really well. And I finished after the girl that won, and the girl that won was 25. And she said to me, my mom is your age. She's like, I don't even know what to say about this. And I said,
how about don't say that to me?
I know. I said, just keep working hard. what do you say? But it's the same thing. Like, nobody knew me, and they're like, how can some 55-year-old be fast? Well,
love that you are. Love that you are. Yeah. So I'm going to put myself like in a bit of a different bucket. My passion for running, I think, is so great that I really don't ever struggle with, like, I've never been inconsistent with my running because I don't ever lose that mojo, but I have changed over the years, to the point where it's not the races that I care to train for. I just care to, run. And, and I've scaled back in my mileage a tad just as my body is aging. And I don't know, I can't say that it reinvigorated anything for me because I was already invigorated, but I am enjoying just running more than I would if I were training. So I'm just wondering if that's something that, is motivational for folks to like kind of switch up their why for running, I guess, maybe, or scaling back in mileage or whatever it might look like, just doing things differently.
100%. I think a lot of athletes need to go through cycles where they want to be competitive. And when I say competitive, I mean with themselves, not with anybody else. They're competitive too, and challenged to be faster, to be stronger, and all that other stuff. And that's a grind. I mean, it's hard. You have to be committed. You have to be, kind of in with your entire being in order to perform. There's people that want to do that, and there's times in your life to do that. And then there's times in your life to just relax, take a deep breath, and just go out and have some fun. And I love it when athletes do that. I go tell them, be curious and go play. And sometimes in the triathlon world or the running world, it includes other sports like cross-country skiing. It includes things like, Sarah, we can even talk about pickleball, but, doing something, right? Doing something that excites you, that you're moving, and it is a complement to the endurance sports that we all do, which is which is the running. So I think it rejuvenates people. I think it's super exciting. It's kind of like a lot of athletes that compete will mix it up. So one year they're going to do short, and they're doing 5Ks and 10Ks, and they're doing relays and Sparta runs and all that with their friends, right? And those are great. Then the next year they're all in. I want to PR the marathon. I want to get my 6th major star in the marathon. I want to BQ. And then they're all in and things change up a little bit. I think that's really healthy, and it's really important in longevity in this sport.
A light bulb just went off over my head as you were saying that, because all along I've been thinking that my re-falling in love with running happened because of those great runs I took out in New Jersey last November. And now suddenly hearing you give that answer, I realized maybe it was that last summer my whole thing was that that's when the weather's great in Portland. So I'm going to ride my elliptigo a whole bunch. And so that for weeks on end, I was barely running because I thought, okay, if I have X number of miles in my legs for the next however many years, I'm going to save them when I can go out, do these longer rides. But then I pretty much was having to curtail my elliptigo riding right around the time I went to New Jersey. So maybe it was that I was excited also to just be back to it. So
yeah, and sometimes something, I don't mean as minor because it was just minor just because it was a short period of time, but just a short period of time like that is all that people need for a little spark. Even though humans, we all love routine, and a lot of us endurance athletes crave and are kind of, positively obsessed with routine. Sometimes it's super healthy to break that routine and kind of try something different and yeah, that's kind of probably what you experience, Sarah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So, and that I know I said this episode wasn't really about coming back from injury, but we're going to go there. At our podcast party last week, a gal named Krista, who I've known for quite a long time, she was telling me how she had 2 slip discs, and I think that's what she was. It was something with herniated disc, maybe one or the other, and she was really hesitant to return to running, and I could just see the fear and concern almost literally written on her face. So for that person, and I know that Krista loves running. She also happens to be like me. She's obsessed with finding, spare change on the ground when she runs. So I know Krista gets a lot of intrinsic joy out of being outside and running. So what training advice do you give for someone like Krista who has that fear that it might, reignite an injury, and so that there's a lot of things wrapped up in that run?
Yeah, and I really think that that's kind of the biggest challenge with coming back from an injury is fear of re-injury. I have to say that one of the things I tell athletes, and even that I did for myself when I went through something as massive and major as my injury, was I didn't think I needed it, but I needed psych help. I needed help from somebody who could walk me through the process that wasn't a loved one, because my loved ones were all like, "You're fine, just go out for a run. What's the big deal?"
You mean your current husband? That's what he was?
Not my past husband or my future husband, my current husband. My current husband was probably like, "I'm tired of listening to you." So, I think that helped me. Seeing a sports psychologist was really important. But more simply and kind of grassroots was, you just kind of have to put yourself out there. It's easier said than done. The best thing to do is to do it with a friend, and you just start walking. And so then you start talking about your concerns. So I'd go for a walk with one of my friends, and I'd be like, I don't think I could run for a minute. And she's like, "No, we're going to run for a minute. If something hurts, then we're going to stop running and we're going to walk again. And then we'll try to get in 5 minutes." And so I told my friend, who's also a runner, my plan. So she knew what I wanted to try to accomplish, and she was able to kind of talk me and guide me through it. Not necessarily like rah, rah, rah cheerleader, just as a comfort, like, I'm here. If something happens, we're going to walk. And I think just a little bit of that moral support in the first few weeks of kind of that scary part of coming back, your first runs back, super, super helpful.
We are so excited to be a part of Feisty for a boatload of reasons. We talk about a bunch of them in the rest of this episode. And there's an event I'm particularly stoked about, Feisty Fest. It's a weekend designed for women like you. A weekend where you get to do the things you love, maybe try a few new things, free from judgment, free from chaos. Quality information from women who actually understand your real life and a community that just gets it. I'm going to be there, and I hope you will be too. Feisty Fest is September 18th through 20th, 2026 in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. 3 days of the sports you love, experts who will give you straight answers about your body, no bro science, no caveats, and women who move because it's who they are, not because they have to. No weight talk, no influencer culture, no one needing anything from you. How awesome does that sound? Just 3 days of being completely, unapologetically yourself with other women doing the same thing. The first 100 women to register get a free custom Feisty Fest sweatshirt that is absolutely adorable. It's designed by Dimity's favorite designer, Lisa Congdon. Head to feisty.co and click on events to grab your spot. That's feisty.co. Come get a little or a lot feisty. I'll see you in September. Our next guest is Erin Haugen, Ph.D., a licensed psychologist and certified mental performance consultant in Grand Forks, North Dakota. She's founder of Haugen Performance Consulting. For nearly 2 decades, Dr. Haugen has helped individuals, teams, and organizations center mental health and well-being while navigating the high-performance lifestyle. She herself is a competitive gravel and road cyclist, as well as a runner and a swimmer. Welcome to the show, Erin.
I am stoked to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great.
Erin, I'm a fledgling, gravel cyclists. So it's fun that you are that. But tell us about your athletic background.
So I actually played high school basketball and ran track in high school. Now, high school was quite a while ago, so we won't do the math. We'll just roll with it. And then I got away from sports actually for a long time when I was in college, actually. Just did, routine physical activity. And then it was after I got my Ph.D., I needed a hobby. Went to a marathon to support one of my friends and saw the wide range of humans running and thought, I think I'm going to give this a try. And so I started with some running, which as a sprinter was an interesting experience to go to endurance running. So did that. And then it kind of morphed into, I'd always been a bit of a recreational cyclist, got a bike to spend time with my husband. And when you bike and run, you might as well add swimming and do triathlons, like all normal people would think. So did that for a bit. And then I'm kind of transitioning into retirement from triathlons and primarily focusing on cycling just in terms of time. And I really enjoy cycling but still train all the disciplines because I actually get really bored doing just one piece of physical activity. So I need a lot of variety in my life. So that's kind of my journey, essentially.
Okay. Very nice. And that feeds well into your profession, but tell us a little bit about your professional background and how you got to the place you are today.
So I'm actually trained as a clinical psychologist first and foremost, and actually kind of fell into sports psychology. Basically, the business that I worked with at the time, our clinic was housed in the same building as some family medicine physicians for a local university and would get referrals for student athletes navigating various things, typically injury at that time. And because I was the person who was closest to being an athlete, was the one to work with them, but became very aware that I was missing that performance piece in sports psychology. Had the clinical training, but really wanted that performance psychology piece. So after I'd been a psychologist for, 5-ish or so years, went back to school, took some classes, got some supervision, and then that's where the Certified Mental Performance Consultant certification came in. And have basically been working with elite athletes for about 15 years pretty exclusively. So kind of fell into sports psychology, but absolutely love it. I love helping people just kind of find the best versions of themselves doing cool things is what I often say to people.
Nice. That's a fabulous tagline for your
Yeah.
profession.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's get philosophical for a sec. For an amateur athlete / fitness enthusiast, do you think it's critical to enjoy running to continue doing it?
Oh, that question has so many layers. I love it. Oh, we could get very philosophical on this. It's funny because I think part of it, we're not always going to enjoy things that we do that are meaningful for us. We're not always, it's not always going to be fun. Sometimes running is going to have a harder mental training day, and that might not be as fun as those days we go on runs that are just where everything's clicking and amazing and awesome. And so should we do things that are not enjoyable ever? Probably not. That's probably tricky, right? That'd be a pretty tricky relationship to have. And I think part of it is tapping into the bigger, like, why am I doing this? What is the purpose behind it? And embracing that there's not always going to be moments that we're going to enjoy it. They're part of the training, whatever that means for us, is that it's going to be hard sometimes. And if we can learn to embrace the hard, I think that's awesome. Doesn't mean that we're always going to love it though, or even enjoy it. And I think being able to hold all of those simultaneously, I think, is pretty important when we think about pursuing various things.
Yeah, I had one of those non-enjoyable runs last week. And I just reminded myself, I've been here so many times. It'll be over and the next one will be better. Right. So
exactly.
Yeah. How often do you work with runners who feel a bit lackluster toward the sport?
More frequently than people would imagine, actually. Because I think it's such an interesting sport because it's so individualized. Whereas like team sports, we can feed off our teammates and things like that. And even when we're doing group running and stuff like that, it's still a pretty individual sport. And so I think part of the sport is the ebbs and the flows and the ups and downs and the questions. I myself have what I like to describe a complicated relationship with running. And I think that it's important to embrace that. And when we do that, it's asking ourselves that question of what's the role that running serves? How can maybe I do need more camaraderie. Maybe I do need more social element to my running. Maybe I do need more intense work. Maybe I have too much intense work. And so I think that slowing down and asking ourselves the question and being curious about what's showing up for us really helps us have the right relationship with running for us, whatever that means for that particular person.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you hang around running blogs, social media posts enough, you read about the finding your why to provide motivation. It seems like that's a bit of where you are, but what would you say your take is on that?
That is a great question. Yes, and probably. That's probably my answer for a lot of things. But because I think sometimes with the finding our why can be really tricky because we feel like there has to be this really deep, heartfelt, meaningful thing. But maybe our why is I've got 20 minutes where I'm not responsible for kids at home, or I have 20 minutes outside, or I work with a lot of elite athletes and maybe it's paying for school, right? Like there's so many different reasons, and it doesn't have to be this deep philosophical thing. I think it's just being honest with ourselves about what's the reason that I go do something that can actually be pretty hard and not always enjoyable, but it also can be really meaningful for us. And what's that meaning that we're attaching to it? And that's going to range drastically for every human that's engaging in running.
Love that.
Well, speaking of it being different things to different people, in terms of discovering a joy in running, do you think a newer runner who's looking to get excited about running should take a different tact than a longtime runner who just kind of feels that they're in a mental slump?
Yeah, I love that actually, because I think being a newer runner, there's going to be so many new things. So many new, I just even think so many new PRs. Like that's the best part about running a different distance or being new to running. Everything is a PR. If that's something that motivates you. And I think that there is that social element that can be so important for, beginning runners as well, that community, just being around other people who are new to the sport and we can ask questions. And I think a lot of times, especially for adults, we're not used to being new at things. We're used to having things figured out, and being new can feel really vulnerable and really uncomfy. And so, that might look a little bit different than a runner who's maybe a little bit more established in the sport and kind of has a better sense of what those ebbs and flows might look like. So I think having community is just so important, certainly for beginning runners, but for other levels of runners as well. It just might look a little bit different for different people.
Love that. I think a lot of our listeners, given that we're kind of in spring now, are training for halves and full marathons, it might feel kind of obligatory to get out there. How would you help them motivate for those obligatory workouts?
I love that. Well, and I live in North Dakota where it's cold all the time.
Yes.
So I feel that deeply in my soul. One of the things that I love to do is really celebrate those small wins, because I think so often we forget that a small step toward that goal is still a step toward that goal. And even though it might feel obligatory, checking off that one particular workout that you're doing in pursuit of that bigger goal, celebrate that. And maybe the run, ideally, not necessarily ideally, for a lot of people, the run might be the celebration. But maybe it's hanging out with friends after the run. That's the celebration. And make sure that we slow down to celebrate doing the obligatory thing, because that is an important part of making sure we're ready, whatever that means for us. But that obligatory thing might not be the celebration. And so making sure we're finding those good ways to celebrate doing the meaningful thing in pursuit of that goal, I think is so, so, so important. And I don't know that we do enough of that in our society, to be quite honest, actually.
Yeah.
Erin, you giving that advice reminded me, took me way, way back to when I was a competitive masters rower when I lived in San Francisco. And I mean, I'd give anything right now to be out on the San Francisco Bay rowing again. But I remember that our coach, and he called me Bowen because there was already another Sarah on the team by the time I got there. And I think maybe it said something about not being happy to be out there. I don't know, something. And he was like, well, Bowen, what are you out here for then? And I lived in the city and we rode up north of the city. And I sheepishly said, carpool? And because I loved my buddies in the carpool that we met at, 5:25 to drive across the Golden Gate Bridge so we didn't all have to pay the toll on the way back. And it was, and then I got a chocolate chip bagel after every workout, which probably was not a good idea. But all of those things when being out there, gosh, I just can't imagine now that I ever didn't think it was great to be out there doing it. But but it was chatting with my friends in carpool and that bagel.
Right. Well, and I think that's the reality, right? When we're in the thick of pursuing a goal or the thick of hard work, it's hard work for a reason, right? Like and the work works, right? Like doing the work is important, and it's also the thing that's hard. And so I actually love that story. It's such a perfect example of humanity and how like we all probably have something like that along the way at some point.
So let's get down to, I don't know if we could call it brass tacks because it is mental exercise I'm going to ask you about, but do you have any mental exercises to do as like a pre-run warm-up or even something to do while you're running that can boost your enjoyment of the activity?
One of my favorite go-to skills is imagery. I love encouraging athletes to maybe it's just imagining what how you're going to feel at different miles, or planning out different things you're going to think about at different miles. Maybe it's imagining how you're going to feel when you're finished. Maybe it's imagining that bagel that you're waiting for. I actually think that's fantastic, right? But imagining like, what is it that I'm moving toward or seeking toward? I do a lot of imagery as far as race planning goes, and part of imagery is also preparing for when things are going to suck during the race or during the run. So when it shows up, we're like, oh, there it is, right on time. Like, I'm ready for it. It's not a surprise. It's just, that's part of one of my favorite phrases is reminding runners to remind themselves, you know what, this is how my body is supposed to feel right now. This is, if it didn't feel this way, I'd probably be disappointed because that means I'm doing the hard thing in a way that I want to be doing that. I think that's one of my go-to strategies that I use all the time. But even just sitting down and simply planning out, what your workouts are going to look like, what your day is going to look like, your nutrition, right? Like that's so easy to not do. So easy to not think through the logistics of race day and stuff like that. I think just that simple planning can be really, really helpful. And so, imagery is I often use imagery as part of kind of planning for workouts and for race day personally.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
As Sarah knows, I've been running with a posse of friends for a couple of decades now. And, we have our regular set days and times that we meet every week. And it really, it's such an enhancement in my joy of running. Can you talk a little bit about how having some running pals can really help motivate and bring joy to your running?
The concept that I go to is emotional contagion. And so that idea of we start to kind of carry some of the behaviors and the mindsets and the emotions of those around us. And so chances are there's at least one person in your running posse that's having a good day and
right.
Probably multiple. And so that's really easy to, maybe if our day's really not as great or I'm not a morning person. And so I would need a large posse to get me out running in the morning. Probably a posse of dogs because I'm a dog lover, but but it's hard to, when others are kind of having that enjoyable experience, to not also experience some of that joy or have some of that vicarious joy through them. I think there also are our running companions can also be that positive self-talk or that helpful self-talk when we're maybe not that for ourselves, because we might be kind of going through it. We might be really frustrated with how things are going. But others tend to see us way better than we see ourselves. And so, and then we also get to be that for somebody else too. We get to be their cheerleader. And when we get to cheer on others and, just even looking forward to being in community, like even as I'm talking about it, I just, it's so fun. Like I want to go out and be with my training companions because it's so meaningful to just share that space with other people. So there's so many benefits. Letting alone, like if you're competitive, it also helps push you, right? Like the hardest workouts are helpful with somebody there who's also suffering there with you and can push you and stuff like that as well. And then the easy runs, right? Like the just, hey, how are you? How's your life? Like, let's catch up. Like there's so many cool things that we can get from the companionship of our training partners.
Even that reminds me of a swim I took last week with some of my new feisty teammates. That I took them swimming, and so totally not a social sport. There's no talking. We didn't even stop at the. They were much faster than I was, so there was no stopping at the edge of the pool to catch up for a second. That workout went by in the blink of an eye. There was just something about knowing that those two people, I was somehow connected with them, just, I don't know, made it so much more fun and joyful than I mean, I love swimming. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and it just, I think really speaks to, I think about like the Harvard longitudinal study and really this idea of like loneliness kills, but also connection enhances. And just that idea of being in a shared space with other people who are interested in the same things, even if we're nowhere near them or have our face in water, like that there's just something really, really cool about that. I routinely get dropped by our local bike shop riders because they're fast. They're so fast. And I love it because they make me better. And we meet up at, water stops and I'm like, y'all are fast. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this experience.
Oh my goodness. Well, Erin, I'm so glad that we found each other and I look forward to having you back on the podcast another time because I really dig your vibe, Erin.
I
so
appreciate
thank you.
No, I really value both of you and really value the opportunity to chat with you. It's awesome. And I'm happy to chat with you anytime.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, she was fabulous, Amanda.
Oh my goodness, I love her. She really had, I don't want to talk like the youngsters, but she had such good vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And that was, I don't know. It's nice being reminded of the ebbs and flows.
Yes, because that is running. I mean, it just
you can sometimes pull yourself out of it when you need to, and that hopefully a flow is coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Thanks for listening and maybe watching on YouTube. If you're pleased our 2 podcasts have returned, we'd love if you could spread the word either by telling folks on social media or in person or leaving us a review wherever you listen. Those 5-star reviews really help other people find our show, which we greatly appreciate. Our show is a production of Another Mother Runner and Feisty Media. For more on Feisty and their other shows, events, workshops, and Feisty Fest, visit feisty.co. That's feisty.co.